The Broken Bond, a culmination to a story started in Rise of a Ninja, a story that was treated with great love and providing one of the most memorable moments for Naruto game fans. Today, we have to return to the Xbox 360 and revive incredible experiences in one of the best remembered games of the generation. The Broken Bond begins with the third Hokage's battle against Orochimaru right where we left it at the end of Rise of a Ninja, providing a bittersweet beginning rarely seen in Naruto games, with the death of Hiruzen as the third Hokage, and attending to his funeral with a grey atmosphere, mist and melancholy dictated by the original soundtrack of the series, which is maintained again in this delivery, with really iconic themes as we already know. I really see this beginning pretty impressive, with small indications that they wanted to make a job as outstanding or even better than Rise of a Ninja. The initial battle with Orochimaru, by the way, provided me as a player what the first Storm could not do, and it was a combat with quick time events, cinematics and emotional power that this part of the series deserves, fighting the first two Hokages and Orochimaru with everything he can and giving an impact to his death that was felt absent in other games. The game format was remained pretty similar to the previous delivery, placing emphasis on the narrative experience and providing it a lot of fan service. More than a remarkable multiplayer fighting system, we continue with exploration elements with large scenarios set in the village. The graphic quality of the previous game is still present, and many times the atmosphere can change according to the events of the moment. It can be radiant and sunny or with ochre tones on a sunset, or it can be very cloudy, giving much more life to the world we are exploring. This being the story of one of the most iconic sections of the Blonde Ninja, it is normal to expect it to be one of the most popular games within the wide repertory that exists today. But it is not the sagas represented here that make this a great game, but the way in which they were explored, giving us 3D environments where we could use various characters in a squad, not just Naruto as happened in the last delivery, and make use of each one's unique skills to overcome obstacles in the levels, fight together and live an adventure as it is raised in the series. Today many of those elements no longer exist, and it is a shame that this potential was wasted because they can sculpture a very good experience for the players, make the game stand out for its unique essence and not stay in the dialogue fight formula. And even though the game starts pretty well with the ability to transmit these moments focused on emotion in the narrative, it quickly slips into a little problem which was called filler. Not only in the anime, it seems everything that has to do with productions that have Naruto in their name usually have a misunderstood need to put filler in it, with stories that are not even a third as interesting as the original material. They are just additional tasks with the annoying inclusion of fights with bandits that are all over the place. No additional mechanics, no interesting transformations, no depth into game formats, everything serving a meaningless purpose just to longer the game. And even though in the past many of us were not interested in these filler moments, either because we loved playing fights one against one, but because we simply thought they were a few more missions to get to the main arcs. The truth is that The Broken Bond is a game that through its mechanics shows that it is not fully interested in having a combat system to praise, with deep combo mechanics so that we are interested in learning to play well. It's a game that stands out for its approach to the feelings of the characters on scene, how they carry the story through their acts, and the combat being a section intended after to complete the elements of the gameplay. So if in this feeling the most exploited section is the gameplay and the story behind it lacks the interest of the developers in showing narrative emotions in the same way, it would not be unready to ensure that this filler is bad. It's unnecessary. The game has a duration of approximately 15 hours, with all the main missions and exploration together, and that for an Xbox 360 disc is not a bad duration. That's why I keep saying that the filler is unnecessary. It could have been a title focused entirely on the main arcs of the ending of PTS Naruto, and it could have saved half work that in the end did not contribute more than uninteresting playtime. I would like to dedicate a good piece to the inclusion of new characters because the increase was pretty notable, both for use in single-player local combats and for their interaction and the participation in the main story. And not only as Naruto's companions, but as characters that we completely control, and depending on their skills we can access new parts of the world and also to later missions. While this can be used in one-on-one combat, now in the Broken Bond it is possible to have them as supports and switch between characters in the middle of the combat. This way our possibilities can increase. Each one has different combos, jutsus and definitive attacks that have their own minigames, providing even more fan service, which ultimately remains as an important factor to take into account for fans of the franchise and which enriches the dynamism of the gameplay even more. This is one of those games that allows you to immerse without limits, making you feel part of the story as if you had actually got into the anime to control the characters in their most relevant fights, especially in the Sasuke chase arc. Each combat and the attribution that the characters make feels told in an organic way, with a lot of vividness in the visual part and letting you experience in these clashes a game that leaves you excited. The combos in the hand-to-hand combat is another point that I would like to highlight, that while visually they are flashy, they are missing a fundamental technical section, and that is the stun. It means that when the character receives a hit, they should have a certain animation and a stun time depending on the type of hit they received. This way, between hit and hit in a combo, the rival would not be able to escape if we are executing a combo correctly. But that does not happen here. It is completely overlooked, which again denotes that the people behind this project were not really interested in making a clean fighting system, but a random fighting show which works in this format perfectly. By this I mean that the combos are not really combos, they are hits with consecutive animations, but they can be blocked or even dodged by a competent rival. The minigames and mechanics of walking in water, on walls, jumping through the forest and so on are one of my favorite parts. They let the gameplay breathe a lot and it doesn't feel repetitive most of the time. For example, an implementation that I love is the Rasengan training. If you have been following the channel for a while, you will know that in the past, reviewing Ultimate Ninja 2, I highlighted the lack of protagonism they gave to the Rasengan training, this being only a segment of repeating fights with Jiraiya. Well, here everything is handled in a way that you embodiment Naruto when you learn the technique. You make small commands to apply chakra to the water balloons, and those small details really nailed it. They provide an immersion that completely fills me. Actually, the cinematics had a slightly subtle change, and that is they would no longer be including fragments of the anime to report certain parts. They would be given to the task of making scenes with the game engine to do both dialogues and some well-polished cinematics. For some people, this works better with fragments of the anime, but I don't see it that way. It seems to me a step forward and a dare on the part of the creative team to advance, give personality to their product, and not depend narratively on external material to let the story be understood. I love the designs of the characters in these games. I'm a real fan of the models. I don't know why, but I feel they fit very well with the designs of the anime. They look full of life with a lot to offer. The awakenings, the special attacks like the Rasengan and Chidori, I love how they look. The final transformations of Naruto and Sasuke, everything is beautiful. Look, I know that the Broken Bond is one of the most remembered Naruto games of all those that have existed, and one of the most controversial questions is whether this is a better game than Rise of a Ninja, its prequel. If I'm honest with you, I do not feel that the Broken Bond has given me an air of superiority. It does include new characters, new concepts, and a really excellent adaptation of the story, but I feel that for a sequel, it may have missed more exploration in the formats used, such as some change that completely turned the combat system over to make it feel more unique. Make the secondary missions not denote so much laziness on the part of the creative team. Man, if they didn't want to make any additional content, they would not have bothered and they would have left a product much more condensed with its true strengths. Aside from that, the Broken Bond is a great game that every Naruto fan should play sometime. It's a really good time that I highly recommend, even to play with a colleague 1 against 1. I love the story told, I love to feel the essence of Rise of a Ninja in every sense of exploration, but that's it. What I liked so much about Rise of a Ninja is what saved this game for me. If I had to choose between the two, I don't care. Who cares? We are not here to choose the best games, but to highlight and revive the unique nuances, that unforgettable moments, and the greatest strengths that titles like this have offered us. So that's why I'm going to ask you to leave me your experiences with this game in the comments if you ever played it. I will be aware of everything you write down below. Thank you very much if you made it to the end of this video. That was all for today. Take care and see ya.